Admiral Taiho stood alone in the command center of Earth's orbital station. The lights were dim. The screens around him showed nothing but empty space, but he knew that would change very soon. The message had arrived 3 hours ago. It came from the outer colonies, from a place so far away that the signal took 2 days to reach Earth. The words were simple and terrifying. The Draconian Empire had sent their Black Armada into human territory. 3,000 warships were coming. No one had ever survived the Black Armada before. Taiho was an old man now. He had gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the fleet for 40 years. He had seen wars and peace. He had buried friends and celebrated victories. But nothing in his long life had prepared him for this moment. The Draconians were not like other species in the galaxy. They were tall and covered in black scales that could stop bullets. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. When they came to a world, they burned everything and everyone on it. 17 different species had fallen to them. 17 entire civilizations. It's gone forever, and now they were coming for humanity. Taiho looked at the small photograph on his desk. It showed his daughter and his 2 grandchildren. They lived on Earth in a small house by the sea. His granddaughter was learning to swim. His grandson was learning to read. They did not know that monsters were coming from the stars. The door behind him opened. A young officer walked in. Her name was Yuna, and she was the captain of Outpost Hala, the station closest to Draconian space. She was not supposed to be here. She was supposed to be at her post. But she had come to deliver her report in person. Abrel, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands were shaking slightly. I have confirmed the intelligence. The Black Armada crossed into our territory 6 hours ago. Taiho nodded slowly. How much time do we have? At their current speed, they will reach the inner colonies in 4 days. Earth in 6. 6 days. That was all the time humanity had left. 6 days to prepare for an enemy that had never been defeated. What are our options? Taiho asked, though he already knew the answer. Yuna shook her head. We have 800 warships. They have 3,000. Their weapons are stronger. Their shields are thicker. Our analysts say we have a 3% chance of victory. She paused. Admiral, we cannot win this war. Taiho was silent for a long moment. Outside the window, he could see Earth floating in the darkness. It looked so small and fragile. Billions of people lived down there. They were going to work. They were eating dinner with their families. They were falling in love and having children. They did not know that in 6 days everything might end. Then we will fight anyway, Taiho said quietly. We will fight because that is who we are. We will fight because we must. And if we die, we will die standing. Yuna saluted. There were tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. I will return to Outpost Hala. I will be the first line of defense. You will likely be the first to die, Taiho said honestly. I know, Yuna smiled sadly. But someone has to watch the door. She left the command center. Taiho watched her go. She was young, only 32 years old. She should have had a long life ahead of her. Instead, she was walking toward certain death. And she was doing it without hesitation. That was humanity, Taiho thought. That was what made them special. They were small and weak compared to many species in the galaxy. They lived short lives. They broke easily. But they never stopped fighting. They never gave up hope. Even when everything was lost, they stood tall. The next 3 days passed in a blur of activity. Ships were mobilized. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Across the planet, people gathered in churches and temples and mosques, praying to whatever gods they believed in. The government told everyone to stay calm, but fear spread like a disease. On the morning of the 4th day, Yuna sent her final transmission from Outpost Hala. Her voice came through the speakers in the command center, clear and calm. This is Captain Yuna. The Black Armada has entered visual range. I count exactly 3,217 ships. They are in standard attack formation. Their weapons are charging. Taiho leaned forward. What is their status? They are not responding to any communication attempts. They are ignoring all warnings. There was a pause. Admiral, they are beautiful in a terrible way. I have never seen so many ships in one place. The stars behind them are blocked out. It is like watching a wave of darkness rolling toward us. Stay strong, Captain. Help is coming. I know it will not arrive in time. Yuna's voice was gentle. But that is okay. I am not afraid anymore. I have made peace with what is coming. Taiho closed his eyes. He wished he could be there with her. He wished he could do something, anything, to change what was about to happen. Then Yuna spoke again, and her voice was different. It was confused. Admiral, something is happening. What do you see? The Armada. They are slowing down. No, they are stopping. They are She went silent for several seconds. Admiral, there is a light coming from the asteroid belt. A blue light. It is very bright. I have never seen anything like it. Taiho stood up. Describe what you see. The light is spreading. It is reaching toward the Armada. The Draconian ships are trying to move, but they cannot. They are being pulled toward the light. Admiral, they are disappearing. One by one, they are vanishing into the light. Captain, get out of there. No, I am safe. The light is not touching me. It is only taking the Draconians. Her voice was filled with wonder. Admiral, the entire Black Armada, they are gone. All of them. In less than a minute, 3,000 ships just disappeared. There is nothing left. Not even debris. The command center fell completely silent. Captain Taiho said slowly, "What just happened?" Yuna's answer came in a whisper. "I do not know. But I think something out there just saved us all." The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The Draconian Black Armada, the most feared force in known space, had vanished without a trace. 3,000 warships, millions of soldiers, and one of the most powerful warlords in history had simply disappeared. And it had happened in human territory. Every species in the galaxy wanted answers. Most of all, they wanted to know if they should be afraid of humans. Lieutenant Minho was a young man who worked in the intelligence division. He was quiet and thoughtful, the kind of person who noticed small details that others missed. He had never expected to be important. He had joined the fleet to help his family pay their debts. Now, suddenly, he was being sent to investigate the greatest mystery in galactic history. His orders came directly from Admiral Taiho. He was to travel to Outpost Hala, interview Captain Yuna, and find out exactly what had happened to the Draconian Armada. The journey took 2 days. Minho spent most of that time reading everything he could find about the Draconians. Their empire was ancient, older than human civilization by thousands of years. They believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. The weak existed to serve the strong. That was their law. They had never been defeated in battle. They had never retreated. They had never shown mercy. And now somehow they were gone. When Minho arrived at Outpost Hala, Captain Yuna was waiting for him. She looked tired. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her uniform was wrinkled. She had not slept much since the incident. "Lieutenant," she said, shaking his hand, "I wish I had better answers for you." "Tell me everything," Minho said. "Start from the beginning." They sat in her small office. Through the window, Minho could see the asteroid belt where the Armada had vanished. It looked peaceful and empty, just rocks floating in space. It was hard to believe that something so powerful had happened there. Yuna told him her story. She described the Armada approaching, the blue light appearing from nowhere, and the ships being pulled into something she could not explain. She showed him the sensor readings, but they were strange and corrupted. The equipment had not been designed to record whatever had happened. "There is one thing I noticed," Yuna said carefully. "Right before the light appeared, my sensors detected an energy spike. It came from that area." She pointed to a dark region of the asteroid belt. "We call it the graveyard. Ships that go there sometimes do not come back. We always thought it was just dangerous rocks, But now I am not sure. Minho nodded slowly. Has anyone investigated the graveyard? No. We never had a reason to. And honestly, we were afraid. After his interview with Yuna, Minho sent his report to Admiral Taiho. He recommended a full investigation of the graveyard. The Admiral agreed. But there were other matters to deal with first. The galactic community was demanding answers. 3 days after the incident, ambassadors from 2 major powers arrived at Earth. The first was Ambassador Vel, representing the Villani Trade Consortium. The Villani were small, blue-skinned creatures who valued money above all else. They had paid tribute to the Draconians for centuries to avoid being destroyed. The second was Ambassador Orin, representing the Orin Collective. The Orin were tall and thin, with silver skin and large black eyes. They were scientists and philosophers. They too had surrendered to the Draconians long ago. Both ambassadors stood before the United Earth Council, demanding explanations. What weapon do you possess? Ambassador Vel asked. His voice was high and nervous. How did you destroy the Black Armada? We must know. We have a right to know. You expect us to believe that? Ambassador Orin said. Her voice was cold. 3,000 ships do not simply vanish. Something caused this. And that something is in your space. Taiho spread his hands. I am telling you the truth. We are as confused as you are. We are investigating. The ambassadors did not believe him. They left Earth angry and suspicious. Minho watched them go and felt a weight settling on his shoulders. The galaxy thought humanity had a super weapon. They were afraid. And afraid people did dangerous things. That night, Admiral Taiho received a mysterious message. It arrived through channels that should have been impossible to access. There was no sender identification. The message contained only 2 things: a set of coordinates and a single word written in ancient Draconian script. The word meant witnessed. Taiho called Minho to his office and showed him the message. The young lieutenant studied it carefully. The coordinates point to a rogue moon, Minho said. It is not on any official maps. It is drifting through the outer edge of our territory. Far from any colony or station. Someone wants us to go there, Taiho said. It could be a trap. Yes, it could be. Taiho was quiet for a moment. But it could also be the answer we need. The answer the whole galaxy needs. He made his decision. He would send a team to investigate the coordinates. But he would not send just anyone. He would send his best and most trusted officer. Commander Hannah was 40 years old. She had served with Taiho for 15 years. She was brave, smart, and loyal. More importantly, she knew when to fight and when to think. If anyone could solve this mystery, it was her. Taiho called her to his office and explained the situation. He showed her the message, the coordinates, and everything they knew so far. This could be the most important mission in human history, he said. I need someone I can trust completely. Hannah studied the data for a long moment. Then she looked up at the Admiral and nodded. I will find out what happened to the Draconians, she said, and I will bring the truth back to Earth. She left the next morning with a small team of specialists. Minho watched her ship disappear into the darkness of space. He did not know it yet, but the answers she would find would change everything humanity. It's believed about their place in the universe. Something ancient was waiting in the dark, and it had been watching over humanity for a very long time. The rogue moon was dark and cold. It floated alone in the emptiness of space, far from any star. No one had ever visited it before. No one had even known it existed until the mysterious message arrived. Commander? Hannah stood on the bridge of her ship and watched the moon grow larger on the screen. Her team of 12 specialists waited behind her. They were scientists, engineers, and soldiers, the best humanity had to offer. All of them were nervous. None of them showed it. Take us in slowly, Hannah ordered. Full scans. I want to know everything about this place before we land. The ship's sensors swept across the moon's surface. At first, they found nothing unusual, just rock and ice and dust. But then, as they moved around to the dark side, the readings changed dramatically. Commander, the science officer said, his voice shaking slightly. "There is a structure beneath the surface. It is enormous. Bigger than anything we have ever seen." Hannah leaned forward. "How old is it? Based on the decay patterns?" The officer paused, checking his calculations twice. "At least 3 million years." 3 million years. Humanity had only existed for a fraction of that time. Whoever built this structure had been ancient when the first humans were still learning to walk upright. They landed near what appeared to be an entrance. A massive door carved into the rock. The door was open, as if waiting for them. Hannah did not like that, but she had no choice. They had come too far to turn back now. The team put on their protective suits and stepped onto the surface. The gravity was weak, so they moved carefully, bouncing slightly with each step. The door loomed above them, 10 times taller than any human. Strange symbols covered its surface. Lines and circles and patterns that meant nothing to anyone. Inside, the structure was filled with soft blue light, the same blue light that Captain Yuna had described. It came from the walls themselves, glowing gently, illuminating their path. The air was surprisingly warm and breathable. Someone had designed this place for visitors. They walked for hours through endless corridors. The walls were covered with images, pictures that told a story. Hannah made sure to record everything. She saw strange creatures building ships. She saw them traveling to distant stars. She saw them creating machines that could bend space and time. And then she saw something that made her stop completely in one image. She saw Earth, not the Earth of today, but Earth as it had been millions of years ago, covered in forests and dinosaurs. Beside Earth, she saw the same strange creatures watching, observing, protecting. "They knew about us," she whispered. "They have been watching us since the beginning." At the heart of the structure, they found a chamber filled with machines. Most were dark and silent, long dead, but one was still active. It hummed with energy, and on its surface, data scrolled in languages no human could read. The science officer worked for hours trying to understand the system. Slowly, piece by piece, he translated the information, and what he found was incredible. These creatures called themselves the Architects. They had existed for billions of years, spreading across the galaxy, watching young species grow and develop. When a species showed promise, when it had the potential to become something great, the Architects would protect it. They would hide defensive systems throughout that species' territory, invisible and dormant, waiting for the day they might be needed. Humanity had activated these systems 200 years ago. When they first discovered faster-than-light travel, they had done it by accident without even knowing it. Since then, the Architect technology had been protecting them. Every time an enemy had mysteriously retreated, every time a battle had ended with an unexpected victory, every time danger had passed without explanation, it had been the Architects. Silent guardians, watching from the shadows. "The Draconians," Hannah said slowly. "What happened to them?" The science officer pulled up more data. His face went pale as he read it. "They are not dead. They were captured. The Architect systems created something called a spatial pocket, a small universe outside of normal space. The entire Draconian Armada was pulled inside. They are frozen there, trapped between seconds. They are alive. Yes, but time moves differently in the pocket. To them, only a few seconds have passed. They do not even know they have been captured." Hannah sat down heavily. Her mind was racing. This changed everything. Humanity had not been lucky. They had not been blessed by gods or protected by chance. They had been chosen by an ancient species that had seen something special in them. But the science officer was not finished. There was more data, and it was not good news. "Commander, the Architect systems are failing. They were designed to last for millions of years, but they are reaching the end of their life. Within 50 years, the protective network will shut down completely. The spatial pocket holding the Draconians will open. They will be free, and we will be unprotected," Hannah added. "Yes, whatever happens after that, we will have to face it alone." Hannah stood up. She looked around the ancient chamber at the machines that had guarded humanity for so long. She thought about all the generations who had lived and died without knowing how close they had come to destruction. She thought about her own children, sleeping safely on Earth, unaware of the danger that was coming. "We need to tell the Admiral," she said. "We need to tell everyone. Humanity has a choice to make. They could release the Draconians now and face them on their own terms. They could try to keep them trapped forever. Or they could do something else entirely. Something that no other species in the galaxy would expect. They could show the Draconians what humanity was truly made of." Hannah recorded her final message to Admiral Taiho. She attached all the data they had collected. Then she ordered her team back to the ship. As they left the ancient structure, the blue light began to fade. The architects were truly gone now, their long watch finally ending. Whatever happened next was up to humanity, and Hannah knew exactly what she was going to recommend. When Commander Hannah's report reached Earth, it caused chaos. The government held emergency meetings. Scientists debated what to do. Religious leaders prayed for guidance. Ordinary people argued in the streets. Everyone had an opinion. No one could agree. Admiral Taiho called a special session of the United Earth Council. The room was filled with the most powerful people on the planet. Presidents and prime ministers, generals and admirals, scientists and philosophers. All of them were there to decide the fate of the Draconian Armada. Senator Bora spoke first. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She had lost her entire family to a pirate attack 20 years ago. She understood pain and anger better than most. "We have a chance that no species has ever had before," she said, her voice cold and hard. 3,000 Draconian warships are trapped and helpless. Millions of soldiers who have murdered billions of innocent beings are within our reach. We can destroy them right now. We can end the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known. Many people in the room nod. The Draconians were monsters. They had burned worlds and slaughtered children. They had shown no mercy to anyone. Why should humanity show mercy to them? But Admiral Taiho stood up and shook his head. "I understand the desire for justice," he said quietly. "I feel it too. But what Senator Bora is describing is not justice. It is execution. It is killing prisoners who cannot fight back. That is not who we are. Who we are." Bora laughed bitterly. "We are survivors, Admiral. We are a species that almost died. The only reason we are standing here is because ancient machines saved us. When those machines fail, the Draconians will come back. And next time, there will be no miracle." "Then we will fight them honestly," Taiho replied. "We will face them in open battle. We will win or we will lose. But we will do it as humans, not as executioners." The debate continued for hours. Lieutenant Minho watched from the back of the room, saying nothing. He was young and unimportant. No one asked for his opinion, but he was thinking hard about everything he had learned. The architects had chosen to protect humanity. Why? There were thousands of species in the galaxy. Most of them were smarter than humans. Many were stronger. What had the architects seen in humanity that made them worth saving? Minho thought he knew the answer. It was not intelligence or strength. It was something else. Something harder to define. Humans were stubborn and foolish, and often made terrible mistakes. But they also loved deeply and forgave freely and never stopped hoping for better things. They believed in second chances. They believed that even the worst enemies could change. That was what made humans special. That was what the architects had seen. When the debate finally ended, no decision had been reached. The council agreed to vote the next day. But Admiral Taiho knew he had to do something more. He could not let fear and anger win. That night, Captain Yuna came to see him. She had traveled from Outpost Hala as soon as she heard the news. She walked into his office with determination in her eyes. "I want to talk to them," she said simply. Taiho looked at her carefully. "Talk to who?" "The Draconians. I want to enter the spatial pocket. I want to deliver a message to Warlord Keth himself." It was a crazy idea. It was also the bravest thing Taiho had ever heard. "You could die," he said. "We do not know what is inside that pocket. We do not know if you can even survive there, I know. Yuna smiled softly. But someone has to show them who we really are. Someone has to make them understand. Commander Hannah volunteered to go with her. She had been to the architect's structure. She knew how the technology worked better than anyone else. Together, they prepared for the most dangerous mission in human history. The next morning, before the council could vote, Yuna and Hannah entered the spatial pocket. Inside, time was frozen. The Draconian ships hung motionless in the strange blue light. Soldiers stood at their stations, eyes fixed forward, weapons ready to fire. They looked like statues, frozen in the middle of an attack that would never come. Yuna flew her small ship through the silent fleet. She passed destroyers and cruisers and battleships, each one larger than the last. At the center of the formation, she found the flagship. It was enormous, a black mountain floating in space. On its bridge stood Warlord Keth himself. Keth was a giant, even for a Draconian. His scales were dark as night, and his eyes burned like red fire. He had conquered more worlds than any other warlord in history. He had never known defeat until now. Yuna activated her communication system. She broadcast her message to every ship in the Armada, knowing that when time resumed, they would all hear it. My name is Captain Yuna, of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You entered our space to destroy us. You came with 3,000 ships and millions of soldiers. You thought we were weak? You thought we would be easy prey? She paused, looking at the frozen face of Warlord Keth. You are alive because we allowed it. You were trapped by ancient technology. Technology we did not create and did not ask for. But we control it now. We could destroy you with a single command. We could end your empire forever. Another pause. We choose not to. We choose mercy. Not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to make that choice. You will be released. You will return to your space. And you will remember this moment. Yuna took a deep breath. The next time you think about attacking humanity, remember that we held your lives in our hands. Remember that we could have crushed you and chose to let you go. And ask yourself, do you really want to test what we might do if you come back? She ended the transmission and turned her ship around. Behind her, the frozen Armada waited in silence, unaware that their entire future had just been decided by a small woman with a gentle voice and an iron heart, when she found the whole world waiting for her. The council had voted while she was gone. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would choose mercy. 1 year passed. It was the longest year in human history. People worked day and night to prepare for what was coming. New ships were built. Soldiers were trained. Defenses were strengthened. Everyone knew that when the Draconians were released, anything could happen, but humanity was not alone anymore. The news of their decision had spread across the galaxy. Every species knew what humans had done. They could have destroyed their greatest enemy and chose forgiveness instead. It was something no one had ever seen before. Ambassador Vel of the Villani Trade Consortium was the first to reach out. His small blue hands trembled as he spoke to Admiral Taiho. We have paid tribute to the Draconians for 300 years, he said. We gave them our wealth and our dignity because we were afraid. We never imagined there was another way. He bowed deeply. The Villani Consortium wishes to form an alliance with Earth, not because we fear you, but because we admire you. You showed us that courage is not about fighting. It is about choosing what is right, even when it is hard. The Aran Collective came next. Ambassador Orin, the tall silver woman who had been so suspicious before, now looked at humans with new eyes. We are a species of logic and reason, she said. We always believed that power was the only thing that mattered. Your decision has made us question everything we thought we knew. Perhaps there are forms of strength we never understood. More species followed. Some had been afraid of the Draconians. Some had been hiding for centuries. All of them wanted to be part of whatever humanity was building. For the first time in galactic history, an alliance was being formed not through fear or conquest, but through hope. Lieutenant Minho was promoted for his role in the investigation. He was given command of a new division dedicated to studying architect technology. His job was not to use the technology as a weapon. His job was to understand it, to learn from it. and to share that knowledge with the galaxy. On the morning of the release, Admiral Taiho stood in the command center. Captain Yuna was beside him. So was Commander Hannah, who had been promoted to Admiral herself. They watched the screens together, waiting. At exactly noon, the spatial pocket opened. The Draconian Black Armada emerged at the edge of their own territory, thousands of light years from human space. To them, only seconds had passed since they entered the blue light. They did not understand where they were. They did not understand what had happened, but they remembered the message. Warlord Keth stood on his bridge, his red eyes burning with confusion and rage. He had been about to conquer a weak species. He had been about to add another world to his empire. And then, in an instant, everything had changed. His officers played Captain Yuna's message again. Keth listened in silence. When it ended, he did not speak for a long time. "They had us," he finally said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "They could have destroyed us all, and they let us go." His second-in-command stepped forward. "It must be a trick. Humans are weak." "They could not possibly. They are not weak," Keth interrupted. "A weak species does not spare its enemies. A weak species takes revenge when it has the chance. Only the strong can afford mercy." He turned to face his crew. "We will not attack human space. Not now. Not ever. I have lived for 300 years. I have conquered countless worlds. I have never once felt fear." Paused. "Today I feel it. Not because of their weapons. Because of what they chose not to do. The Draconian Empire did not attack again." News of their retreat spread quickly. Other aggressive species took notice. If the mighty Draconians were afraid of humans, perhaps everyone should be careful. But humans did not use their reputation for war. They used it for peace. They invited species to trade and share knowledge. They helped rebuild worlds that had been destroyed by conflict. They became mediators in disputes. Trusted by all sides because they had proven they could be fair. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Children went to school. Farmers grew their crops. Families gathered for meals and celebrations. The shadow of fear had lifted, replaced by something new. Pride, not the pride of warriors, but the pride of people who had faced the darkness and kept their souls. Admiral Taiho retired quietly. He spent his remaining years by the sea, playing with his grandchildren and watching the waves. Sometimes late at night, he would look up at the stars and think about everything that had happened. He never regretted his decision. He knew it was the right one. Captain Yuna returned to Outpost Hala. It was no longer a lonely border station. It had become a symbol, a monument to the moment humanity had defined itself. Visitors came from across the galaxy to see where the Black Armada had vanished. Yuna greeted them all with patience and grace. Admiral Hannah gave the closing address at the annual Unity Day celebration. The whole planet watched as she spoke. 2 years ago, we were children walking through a dark forest. We did not know that ancient guardians were protecting us. We did not know how close we came to destruction. Now we know everything." She paused, looking out at the millions of faces watching her. "The architect systems are gone. We are alone now. No one will save us if danger comes again. But I am not afraid, because I have seen what humanity can do. I have seen us face monsters and choose mercy. I have seen us turn enemies into friends. I have seen us build something beautiful out of fear and uncertainty." She smiled. "We do not need guardians anymore. We have become the guardians, and we will protect not only ourselves, but everyone who needs us." In the back of the crowd, Lieutenant Minho listened quietly. He thought about the architects, those ancient beings who had watched humanity for millions of years. He wondered if they were still out there somewhere watching even now. He hoped they were proud of what their children had become. The stars shone brightly overhead. Somewhere out there, Warlord Keth was still thinking about the small species that had shown him something new. And across the galaxy, 100 different worlds were looking toward Earth, not with fear, but with hope. Humanity had arrived, and they were just getting started.